Right, here we are. Welcome, everybody. This is Mika again from the World Sports Chiropractic Chat Show. And today I have the absolute honor and pleasure of introducing Dr. Brandon Steele from US of A, St. Louis. And, I don't know what state that is, but you'll forgive me for that. How are you doing, my friend? You all right?
I'm doing well. St. Louis, Missouri, right in the middle of nowhere, actually.
Well, there you go. See, I always forget Missouri and I always forget Nebraska and those states that nobody ever knows, right?
So is everybody else. We're somewhere between New York and Los Angeles.
Oh, that's a broad spectrum right there.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot of landmass there to cover, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Good. Hey, really thrilled to have you on board today, actually. I'll be looking forward to having a little chat with you about various different things, because you are pretty much a bit of a research wizard, aren't you? You kind of know more or less where we stand currently. So what's your kind of latest thing you've been involved in?
That's the best. Is the best part about what I do is I don't have to perform the research. I respect very much the people who are involved in research. In fact, that's where I started out with my started a PhD and quickly realized I enjoyed reading it rather than performing it. And my team does not do any research. In fact, we try to steal the best ideas from the leading researchers out there and try our best to take that information and synthesize it and give it to chiropractors. And then even sometimes more difficult is to take that information, give it to chiropractors to give to their patients.
Yeah, absolutely.
That knowledge transfer system is tough, when you're going
Mm.
across education levels or age levels and explaining to patients or chiropractors what's wrong with them and how to get them out of pain.
Absolutely right. Now, listen, I'm glad you said that actually, because I don't talk research. I don't really sort of, I'm not that interested. Let's put it that way. I find it a bit of a chore to go through, start plowing through a research paper and sort of critically appraising everything and trying to get my head around all these different difficult words and whatnot. But I think, your work is something that is a lot more approachable in that respect for your average chiropractor, would you say?
Well, thank you very much. I would agree. We have a team of 15 diplomates across all the sports and the rehab and orthopedics who enjoy reading research more than I do. And it's very beneficial because they can take the most important stuff, and then it's really up to my team to turn it into the information that we're going to feed to evidence-based chiropractors, and then, of course, give it to their patients. And so I enjoy the not only understanding the information, but how is that actually going to apply in practice? Yeah, this test is great. Yes, this exercise is great. However, it's got to be realistic. It's got to be something that the masses that we can use in practice. And when we can do that, then really it's exciting when research can be published in March and April and be used by patients in the same month. That's the part for me.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. That's exactly right. And I remember, talking about tests and things, that's actually a funny little thing. I remember back from my own uni days, which was back in the dark ages at some point. But I remember one of our lecturers, he asked, what's the most useless orthopedic test you could come up with? And I can't remember now what it was anymore, but somebody put their hand up and said, oh yes, this particular test, because the sensitivity is so and the specificity is so, and it's absolutely rubbish. You shouldn't do anything. You should never do that. Waste of time. So then our teacher basically said, well, what else do you learn from it? And all of a sudden, everybody thought, what do you mean? It's a test for that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if you're performing this test, but the patient grimaces at the wrong place at the wrong time?
Mm-hmm.
What if the patient is actually just, getting to the desired outcome, but it does a weird wiggle on the way? What does that mean? And none of us really could understand what he was on about. But then he just said, look, even if an orthopedic test is rubbish at testing a particular outcome, but you can learn a lot more just by making the patient perform movement, because there's all this other data and all these other nuances when it comes to human function that nobody really measures, if you like, but it really influences the decision making and the clinical outcome, if you like, in that respect.
I really like that. And the whole time you were saying, I'm like, what is he gonna ask me what test? And I'm like running through each test. I'm like, what is the most test? And then I thought to myself, I would say any orthopedic test done in isolation is useless.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's the funny thing is I just put out a blog on the extended straight leg raise. Shacklock was not, I don't think he was the author. I think he was a co-author in a book or in the paper. And I caught a lot of flack on like, no, this test is better. No, this test is better. I'm like, come on, people. Like we have to understand that we're using a constellation of tests and clinical prediction rules along with the history and how the patient walked in to come up with our diagnoses. And even that, we're just really getting the tissue that was injured. That's not necessarily the problem. It could be
that's right.
sitting at their computer. Yeah, I love the clinical aspect of what we do. It's less like looking at an MRI and like, here's your problem. Because what we know is we really can't say that. That's the art of what we do that I just find fascinating. And I think research helps. I think it's the end all be all, but it helps get us to that answer a little faster.
Well, like we say, all human beings, we kind of resemble a generic blueprint, if you like. Mm-hmm. But then there's that lot of individual variation, coming from whatever traumas we suffer through our lives, whether it's physical or emotional or chemical, whatever it may be. But all those different things, they will have an influence on that particular person's functioning. And that's where, I think the generic blueprint is great. That's where your orthopedic neural testing, it helps us kind of map that out. But then the rest of it, you got to kind of fill in the gaps as a clinician yourself.
Sure, it's a hierarchy, right? How many things are causing the problem, and then what things can we actually chip off in our office? And sometimes our treatments, or even the best treatment for that patient, may not be the one that you offer in your practice. Maybe they need to see a psychologist or a nutritionist.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the fun part.
Oh, absolutely. Because it's like a box of chocolates, isn't it?
Well, it's a box of something sometimes.
Box of something or the other, absolutely. No, that's true. Yeah, you never know what you're going to get when people walk in, even people you've known for a long time. That's my favorite part in clinic, actually. Just everybody can surprise you. That's always the fun part.
Yes. Yeah. Well, otherwise it'd be boring in our little, boxes that we call a treatment room. You got to have a variation every once in a while.
Absolutely. So, what's your kind of specialty? Are you working more as a sports chiropractor, or are you more of a rehabilitation specialist, or where's your kind of angle nowadays?
Yeah, actually, I have a very specific angle, and I think that sometimes I get a little flack for that when I go out, and I do teach for the Diplomate Orthopedics program, so people always label me as an evaluation orthopedics kind of guy. However, my goal is fairly simple as far as how I branded myself and my community. I work for 2 medical physician groups, and what that means is I have a very limited role, and that role is to get people out of pain as fast as possible and to limit segmentation of care. So when they send someone to see me, my goal is, as long as it fits within my scope, to get them out of pain quickly, and then teach them the strategies, whether it's rehab, whether it's maybe ADL modification or change the way they run or what have you, to keep them out of pain. So I find that the more I can educate my patient on what is going on, and the more educated they are on their condition, the better they're able to keep themselves out of pain and not need me. So I'm not a wellness kind of guy. Not that I don't, I have nothing against it, just not my role in practice. Was a big rehab guy when I first came out. In fact, I worked in a residency where I worked on professional. It's near there.
That side.
Like the Cardinals and the Rams and the Blues, those are sports teams over in the U.S.
Yeah.
And really love that role. But I really enjoy treating a 13-year-old, then a 80-year-old, and then a 42-year-old of different athletic abilities, physical abilities, cognitive abilities. And I find it challenging. So I guess my niche is just to find out what's wrong with somebody and to help them as fast as possible.
Absolutely. No, that's brilliant. So coming back to the symposium, obviously the FICS Symposium that's going ahead in May. That's I'm personally looking forward to it. You can't even believe how much I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I.
But we got a stellar lineup. Obviously, your good self, you're doing a big thing there. You're talking about actually tell us briefly what kind of thing, without giving away too much, but give us a little outline as to what people might expect.
Yeah, I haven't put together a presentation yet. No, I'm kidding. So it's called Game Changers. But what I found in practice is that I can be pretty good at automating the 98 to 99% of what I do in a practice, just because there are commonalities, like you said, with anatomy that we can treat people pretty effectively doing a recipe-based approach. But that only gets us so far, that we have to understand the patient as a case study of one, per McGill. And to really understand that takes some creativity. And I find that it's that 1% to 2% of care that probably should take more of my time. And those are the nuggets of information. The thoracic outlet syndrome, 90% of the people have ulnar nerve distribution. 75% of people with BPPV also have migraines. And it's going through little tidbits of information to say, when you see this, you should be thinking this. If every single person that walks in your office has lateral condylitis that's recurring, it may be an osis and not an itis. If you see every person you give a counterforce brace and now they start to determine, there's some numbness and tingling going on the arm, maybe a radial tunnel syndrome. So it's little clinical pearls, and they're divided into their subsections, but that maybe you didn't think of before, that in the last 18 months have been published in the research. So it's not going back through the life cycle of all research. It's just saying, what are the best research articles that we could find in the last 18 months? And we get about 300 to 500 a month. We actually put into ChiroUp maybe 20 to 25 of those and update our protocols. In fact, with carpal tunnel syndrome, the palmar branch of the median nerve supplies this part of your hand, that if you have numbness and tingling in here, chances are it's not just carpal tunnel syndrome. It's actually coming from that palmar branch. And so if you're treating carpal tunnel syndrome and you're focusing on nothing but the wrist, but they have numbness and tingling here, chances are you can maybe look upstream to a pronator teres syndrome or cervical radiculopathy. And it's not all inclusive. I'm not going to give how to treat carpal tunnel syndrome, but it's just a little tidbits on things that maybe would help the individual listener, maybe help get one more patient out of pain or solve their problem a little faster.
Absolutely. No, that's the kind of stuff that, I wish you had. Well, when did you qualify? Once you graduate?
I went to Logan University, also in Missouri, which is that weird place between New York and Los Angeles, 2009.
Yeah, I wish you would have been around when I was first qualified. I qualified in 2007, but yeah, man, you would have saved me a hell of a lot of gray hairs at the time, figuring this stuff out.
Yeah, well, we have 7 schools now that utilize our knowledge transfer system within ChiroUp, and it's funny because, and I'm sure you have the same thing. I still have my 3-ring binders of research articles and all my little protocols and the notes from each thing. I can't throw them away. They're useless. I don't ever look back.
Yeah.
But having a knowledge bank of those things that you can access at your fingertips and then deliver to patients it's just fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I might be even more sad in one respect. I think I still got a lot of my old university course notes in a box in the garage from about 4 house moves back. They've been in a box and I just can't bring myself to throw that box away.
Neither can I. Yep.
No, brilliant. But hey, so tell me a little bit about ChiroUp. I mean, I'm fascinated. I've never really quite understood what ChiroUp is. So, for those listeners, obviously, who don't know, give us a little update.
You could probably tell who is in charge of the marketing and sales with ChiroUp based on the fact that you don't know what it is. It's us. So we're clinical. We're practicing chiropractors. We love what we do. So we take research, and we have a big team of diplomates that are really around the world. And we get information, we turn it into condition reports. In fact, one of your speakers, Carla Stecco, I just finished our protocol on myofascial pain syndrome. Actually, Tom Hyde was generous enough to put a lot of time. Jay Shaw from the NIH contributed. And I just think the world of taking all that collective knowledge and turning it into a protocol that now when a patient comes in with anything from myofascial pain syndrome to Achilles tendinopathy, it's up to us to have the creativity to understand what that is. And of course, with ChiroUp, we give you the best evaluations, treatment modalities, methods, as far as how to make that diagnosis. But then we deliver to the patient in app format, printed format, or emailed format of, hey, Sally, you've got Achilles tendinopathy. Dr. Steele is going to do this treatment with this modality and these exercises. And here's your exercises. Here's what you should be changing as far as your running shoe. Here's an infographic on your running shoes or whatever it is. It's just a quick, easy thing. In the States, I've got to be pretty fast, and I'm bound by insurance and patient expectations that I need to make sure I'm delivering the best care to every single patient every single time. We have this thing called Google over here. I don't know if you guys have that.
But I've heard of Dr. Google. Yeah.
So, well, if people don't like your care, and if they, didn't get what they were looking for, they can rate you online and get Google reviews. So, our job is just to really do the best job possible to deliver that information to chiropractors, and then they can in turn deliver it to their patients. And we've been fortunate. We've got over 1,000 clinics around the world that use it. And it was really built by myself and Dr. Bertelsman, but it's morphed. So we think of ourselves as more of a crowdsourced company. If they have ideas for marketing, for like MD marketing, one of our subscribers came to us, hey, wish you did this, this, and this. We have coders on staff. We just develop it. So we have a kind of a co-op mentality with if something makes sense for the profession, we make sure that we do it to make sure we can help chiropractors just have a little more time, a little more legitimacy in their community, and a little more clinical effectiveness.
Oh, that sounds amazing. No, really worthwhile. I think I might have to look into it a little bit more deeper now. You're selling it well, man.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I should try that a little harder when I'm actually working. But no, I think that if we're going to change the perception of where chiropractic is going, it starts with that. It starts with just better results. Treating the patient as the center of the circle. That anything we can do for the patient, let's go ahead and do it. Let's do it fast. Do it with the best value. The least amount of time, the least amount of energy, so they're happy with their care. And big data is going to sort it out pretty fast as far as who's the most effective, who's the most efficient in musculoskeletal care. And fortunately, it's us.
Can't go wrong with that, can you?
Yeah.
Oh, it's all good news. I'm hearing music here. You're talking, but I hear music. That's brilliant. Absolutely. No, hey, listen. So, any of the other speakers on the lineup that you're looking forward to hearing their speech?
You can't go wrong with Stecco. I mean, man, I can still remember reading, her journal articles and books when I was in school, and that kind of collective knowledge. You can read research, which is what I try to do and synthesize information. But when a researcher can tell a story behind that thought process, I really enjoy that. I enjoy those speakers that didn't just research it; they actually did it. I think them and Cook, and I don't get overseas a lot. In fact, I've got a sister in Switzerland who's begging me to get over there, and I can't find time with with a practice and family. But I'd love to hear those speakers more often. So that's why I'm looking forward to this one. In the virtual world that we live in now, I've really had the opportunity to hear people that I've never heard before.
That's right.
So I'm excited.
No, that'd be brilliant. I mean, I'm at first I wasn't really sure about this whole virtual symposium format. I couldn't really get my head around how it's going to work. But having had multiple chats with people who are putting it on, Keith Overland and obviously Christine Foss, who are probably the biggest sort of innovators behind this one, and of course then our good Trish in the office and Megan, who have been really building the whole platform and getting it all running. So it sounds like it's going to be really great. There's like an app where you can actually, when you register, you get this app kind of thing where you can actually book your different slots, so you don't forget them. And all the lectures are up for 30 days after the symposium. So that's a great thing. So you're not going to miss out on anything. And you can get your CE credits or CPD credits, like they're called here in the UK. And there's loads of those available as well. I think 12 and a half hours. So, it's a great way of getting your CPD points done this year. Absolutely.
I was the same. In fact, I kind of avoided virtual seminars at the very beginning of this. And now that 30-day thing, because I, like everyone else who's going to be listening to this, we don't have time in our days for 8 hours and on a Saturday and Sunday. I've got things to do, but I've got time at lunch next Tuesday, and I've got time at after the kids go to bed on Thursday, that this is going to be a format that I hope goes away solely, but I hope stays in some parts, because I enjoy it as a chiro. I've got other things to do, but I want to hear these people speak, and I think they can make an impact on my practice.
Absolutely. And I think, what also, because we have of course a global audience, we got people dialing from every corner of the world. So of course, unfortunately, the way it works with time zones, not everybody's on the same time zone. Mm-hmm. So some of the speakers are going to be on at 3 o'clock in the morning, some part of the world. Yep. So of course, hence the 30-day time is actually really good, because then you're not going to miss out on these superstars when they deliver their stuff.
Yes. Yeah, actually, Dr. Bertelsman and myself are at 9 o'clock at night on a Friday night, and we might. I've got a little bar across the wall over here that, depending on when you catch us, it may be good. We'll find out.
You'd be very jolly.
Yeah, you might get more than just our clinical pearls.
Yeah, well, there you go. Absolutely. No, that's good. But hey, I think, in terms of like a future format for symposiums and things like that, maybe it's a great idea to have the live one, but just video all the speakers, and then give all the attendees that 30-day grace period when they can actually recap on all the different speakers and that they might have missed on the day. I think that'd be an amazing way.
One thing that we found is that we're actually going to create, we do this for all of our seminars, but we created a web page that normally we give out assets. We give out certain videos and exercises and handouts and infographics. So we created a website that now, after the seminar, we're just going to hand out that link, and now we can still deliver that information. So I think we just have to get a little more creative, but as long as people are willing to adapt, which, they have been, I think it'll be powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely great. No, that's cool, man. No, listen, I just wanted to ask you, actually, how was it? What's been your favorite sports team to be working with over the years?
I'll tell you what, I'm not a hockey fan. I watch hockey. However, I don't know any of the players. So when I first walked into the place that I was doing my residency at, I walked in, and it's a very nice place, very nice. And there's a guy who's, and this is early in the morning, probably 5 o'clock in the morning, he's sitting at the bar, and he has like coveralls, and he has no teeth, and kind of shredded sweatpants he has on. I'm like, oh my God, someone broke in here. There's a homeless man sitting in the room. So I go down and start talking to him. Very nice man, very perfect, mannerisms and everything. I'm like, oh, he's probably supposed to be here. He might have been fixing the refrigerator. And it was a hockey player. And I use his name, but I can't. And I really like hockey players, probably the most down-to-earth players. I also work with the Cardinals, very down-to-earth. Football players were tougher because they were just beasts. They were so strong. They were so stiff, and obviously built for athleticism, but I had a tough time working with them. And they were competitive. They were much more competitive as far as the rehab. So I would say baseball and hockey.
Yeah, there you. I'm glad you said that. I used to be a big fan of St. Louis Blues, actually, back in the day. Probably my sort of real active hockey days ended at sort of end of the 90s, and a series of injuries, and then led to me becoming a chiropractor. And long story short, but yeah, I was a big St. Louis Blues fan in those days.
Yeah, we got it a few years ago. It was a fun year.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. But anyways, I mean, American football players, I think they compare to rugby players in a way.
Yes.
Reminds me of an occurrence that when I first went to work with a local rugby team, and I was like, I think a second level, first division rugby team, that kind of championship in the UK. And these guys, I was having a chat with the physios, and then this fella just put his head through the door, goes, hey, are you free, doc? Can you give us a bit of a hand with my back? I was like, yeah, sure, rock on, come on here and whip your top off and get on the bench and that. And turned around to do something. And next thing I know, this massive bloke, absolutely huge, sitting there. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, I'm a skinny little stick, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do with this guy? And I got a doc, and I got 3 physios all kind of staring at me. Okay, what's the newbie gonna do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And went through my bits and kind of figured out what I need to do. Didn't put him on his side, and to adjust the pelvis, and I loaded up everything I had. Absolutely hit him as hard as I bloody could. I got this little tiny,
yeah.
and the guy just looked at me and goes, Yeah, you can do that a bit harder next time if you want.
Yeah,
That's all I got.
I know where you're on that one. Those guys are tough, but they're like race cars. They need help too.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate
Absolutely.
that Chiro's been helping them in all sports over the last 20 years.
Absolutely. No, that's great. But hey, listen, you know what, man? We are cooking here. We're going really well with the time. So I'm thinking we're going to start wrapping it up. Any sort of last teasers, parting shots before we wrap it up for this evening?
No, I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for organizations like FICS, we have the ACA over here, who just keep on charging on. And I would say that if there's anything that I could ask of any chiro around the world, it's one to watch these kind of seminars, but it's really to support those organizations. That I'm part of the Illinois Chiropractic Society, and I'm one of the presidents, and I spend a lot of time doing politics, which I don't really enjoy doing. However, it's wellness for our profession that if we're not at the table, we're being served for dinner. As far as all the things that our organizations do for us that we really don't think about, what we need. So support organizations like FICS and like your state association, country association, depending on where you are. And that's what I would ask of anyone, because those are the people that are going to change our profession and really, help us in the next 20 or 30 years and help us be the undeniable choice for payers and patients for musculoskeletal care.
Absolutely right. No, I couldn't have put it any better myself. So, hey, listen, everybody watching, listening, don't tally, get your tickets now. We got the early bird special is still running at the moment. It's going to be going for another week and a bit. So hurry up, get your tickets before they all go and before you have to pay the higher price. So it's going to be the second weekend of May, 7th to 9th of May. That's when the symposium is running, and you can catch obviously Dr. Brandon Steele there amidst the stellar lineup of speakers. So don't miss that out. Be there or be square.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Great to have you on board, Brandon. Really enjoyed our chat this evening. And I look forward to seeing you go live in the symposium.
Excellent. Nice meeting you, Mika. Look forward to it.
All right. Amazing. Thank you, man.
Thanks.